Welcome back, degenerates. Today I just quickly want to talk about stencils. I've been doing hand stencils like a caveman for 11 years. And the worst part is I was extremely proud of it. A lot of you beginners watching think that that's insane. But here's the thing though, when you're making an actual hand stencil, it's very intimate. You get to meet the design. You learn how you're gonna actually tattoo it whilst you're making the stencil. It is a really good practice for beginner tattooists. Now, me, being top G, I don't need to do that. But I kept doing it like an idiot, and I thought I was the fucking boy. And I was looking down upon anyone that uses a fucking iPad or a Wacom Cintiq like that. Now, here's the thing in tattooing. Time is of the essence. So what I'm doing now is when I have a design ready, I will put it on my iPad, go to bed, and whilst I'm watching a movie, I'm just gonna do the stencil. And it requires 10% brain power to do that. And I know most of you watching probably think, yeah, obviously, mate. But see, I was late to the party. And here's the thing, I started doing that now by accident. So I bought an Epson inkjet, whatever printer with a stencil ink, and I tried. I just could not get the paper to work at all. I tried stencil stuff, Electrum, I tried different paper. I just could not get that to work. Then what happened? My actual printer died. So I couldn't do my caveman hand stencils. So I had to print the actual design on the stencil paper with the stencil ink and make a hand stencil from that like an absolute fool. And then I figured, what if I make a fucking digital stencil and print it? And that's what I've done. And it worked. Man, I thought I was Elon Musk then. And then what I've seen was from Daniel, I'm gonna butcher his name, Daniel Daniel from 7 Tattoo. I've seen a natural stencil and then a faded, realistic stencil beneath it. And I thought, this is fucking professorship right there. And where you can save so much time with a client, it's just a no-brainer. Because what I used to do is my client would come in, we'll check the design, do all the fucking amendments if any are necessary, and then figure out the size. I would print it out and then spend upwards of 2 hours for a fucking stencil. So now, where I have my fancy iPad, now I just make the stencil in bed and hope there's no fucking amendments. Because if there is, I'm just... So when I have the stencil made on the iPad now, I just print the actual size out, measure it, boom, done. So we can start tattooing now immediately, which is super helpful. And most of you watching probably think I'm a cunt because I haven't done that earlier. But like I said, like a dinosaur, I was proud of my hand stencils. And that's not to say I'm never gonna do them again. I certainly will. But I mean, it's really common sense, but I just couldn't get the paper to work. I tried everything. So now, degenerates, if you're a seasoned vet, top G like me, you can switch to digital stencils, no questions asked. If you're a beginner, I will still recommend keep doing hand stencils for practice and all of it, and practice digital stencils as well. Now, the upsides of digital stencils, like I said already, is time. Number one, you make it digitally and then you can print out any size and quickly adjust the size, which with a hand stencil, you can't really. Another upside, but also a double-edged sword, is the detail. So when you zoom in and out on the iPad or Cintiq or whatever, you can see a lot more detail, a lot clearer. And but that may lead to analysis paralysis. You might end up marking way too much in shit that don't matter. Usually with stencils, the easier the better. The time is just phenomenal. And also you've got endless tries as well. So with the actual hand stencil, you might have 3 tries, and if it goes badly, you might have to make another one. Unless you copy it and then, put it through the machine. But I'm not actually talking about the machine. I'm talking about the actual stencil printer, a normal printer with stencil ink in it. A downside would be when you're using the stencil printer to print the actual stencil, it's a lot more, it's fainter. It goes off quite quickly. But I'm not sure if that's the case though. It's not going to be as rock solid like the hand stencil. I think my printer must be empty or something, because I remember it being better. But for me, that's not a problem really. Sometimes I will adjust the way I work. If it's too faint, then I'll just do more lining or more blood lining or whatever, marking. Yeah, so that's that. And the other cool thing is, like I said, that thing you can do, you put the actual design beneath it and just put the opacity on 50 or 20% or whatever, so you will see through the stencil the contrast or the darker parts and stuff, which is, I'm not sure if it's actually helpful, but it looks cool and professional as fuck. So I'm certainly going to be doing that. What else? One thing I forgot to add. So I've seen this from Animal Tattooer. She is fucking incredible. But also, I've seen that stencil and I don't understand how it works. I've tried to print realistic stencils time and time again, and always some fucking smudges. It always smudges or something. I just can't get them to work. Now, I'm not sure if that's the paper or my actual stencil ink or stencil stuff. I'm not sure what the problem is. I'm going to try and reach out, and if she gets back to me before I actually edit that video, I'm going to include that here.
Gens, indeed, she did come back to us and she said she's using inkjet stencil fluids and Epson inkjet printers. So if I can resolve that issue and I can get it to work, I will definitely share that with you.
That would also save so much time. I quite like the liney, the hand stencil, the digital hand stencil. I think I like that kind of roadmap for my tattoo. But if I could get used to that, then all bets are off. Then I'm not even designing. Then I'm just getting my client in. Oh, you want this? Pinterest? Boom, print, done. I'm joking, obviously. I enjoy designing. I will add though, if you're making digital stencils, I think you need to deserve it. Not because the fucking tattooing tradition and all that shit, none of that. Like I said, on the beginning, it's gonna be hugely beneficial if you just keep doing stencils. Even for shit you're not tattooing. So you start understanding how your brain perceives a reference. What's important to mark, what's not that important, and then maybe try draw from that. So if you use an iPad all the time from the beginning, I'm not sure if that's going to be to your detriment. Now, some people started to tattoo and never actually made a physical stencil at all and just made, super realistic iPad stencils. So not even tracing it, just making the stencil in the iPad or Cintiq, whatever computer, whatever, and just printing it out and going. Now, I don't think that's good for your development, because see, even stencils already are cheating as far as art's concerned. Now in painting, it's super frowned upon. You can always spot a dumbass tattooist painting just by the way they paint. You can always tell. Certainly in mine you can. Now if you're painting a color study, sure, make a stencil and just focus on the color so you have all the proportions right. But that's exactly the point. If you're amazing at proportions, if you're amazing in measuring, if you know the Loomis technique, that technique, perspective, fine, whatever. Make a stencil, doesn't matter. If Cesar Santos makes a stencil, I don't give a fuck. But if I'm making a stencil and I'm not a fucking gangster painter like Cesar, I'm a clown. I can't be doing stencils because I don't deserve them yet. Do you understand? What I should be doing is learning composition, learning perspective, learning proportions, learn how to paint faces or draw faces in this case. Do you understand? So with just hopping to straight digital stencils, I think it's a huge detriment to your development. I might be wrong though, but from what I'm seeing some digital stencils from artists. And so keep in mind, now when I say digital now, I'm talking about where it's not traced. When I see a stencil like this, when it's not even traced, when it's just digitally generated, and your artwork is bad, or tattoos rather, are bad, this is obviously, you can't be doing that, clearly. Anyway, I just wanted to put that out there as soon as possible. That's maybe not that education, that's maybe more like a public service announcement, but I'm now exploring stencils a bit more because I have serious problems with stencils. I hate them with a passion. I hate putting them on. I hate when they wipe off. I fucking despise stencils. I will now switch to doing these kind of stencils because I much rather have those 2 hours of tattooing time, and I can prepare the stencil the night before, which is super good. And also when you get to meet the design intimately like that, zooming in, tracing it, all that, the night before and then sleep on it is just phenomenal. And also you get excited before bed for, next days of work. People like me that really like their job or really like tattooing or whatever, we're so blessed, honestly. And that's just another thing, just a new quick tool. It's not a new tool. I mean, I had my Wacom tablets, my iPads, my Surface tablets for years, but I never actually used them for stencils. I never thought to use them for stencils because I enjoyed the process in the morning. I always had my little ritual. I had my 2 large black Americanos with an extra shot of espresso till I almost had a heart attack while I was doing the stencil. So I really enjoy that process in the morning, that intimate connection with the design or whatever. But I'd much rather do that the night before so that I can just solely focus on tattooing the next day, which is perfect. I can't even begin to explain how big of a game changer that is to me. And probably most of you actually already been doing that for years. Again, I'm late to the party and I'm guilty of the sin. I was actually proud of my bullshit. So, degenerates, let me know in the comments what stage you are in your tattooing career and what kind of stencil you're doing. Are you doing hand stencils? Are you tracing stencils digitally, meaning a digital hand stencil? Or are you generating a stencil digitally? Anything else I forgot? I went through most of your comments. I'm gonna answer it in like a Q&A video or something. But if there's anything technique-wise or anything you want to know, please ask in the comments and I will try to produce that content for you. So if there's anything you're struggling with or whatever, just let us know. Anyway, degenerates, thank you so much for watching. Keep pressing charges, stay toxic, do your stencils by hand if you're a beginner, and if you're a seasoned professional, save as much time as possible. Obviously, you know what you're doing. And I'll see you in the next one. GG's.